In particular, what does it tell us about the higher truth of Palestinian claims that the Israelis shot this boy in cold blood? Claims that incited comparisons of Israelis to Nazis. Indeed, the Palestinian Authority doctored the original footage to make that very point. And when asked how they could do this, an official explained.
These are forms of artistic presentation, but all this serves to convey the truth and explain a specific event. We never forget our higher journalistic principle to which we are committed, of relating the truth and nothing but the truth.
Could these Palestinian bullets explain why they never produced any ballistic evidence that the Israelis had shot the father and son 11 times? Could it also explain why Talal felt prompted to lie to Esther Shapira on camera?
We have evidence, the kind of the bullet, I filmed it, the kind of the bullet, we pick up the bullets from the wall, France do collect it.
So you're doing a better investigation job than the police?
No, we have some secrets, you know, for ourselves. We cannot give anything, just everything.
Once again, the France 2 video shows how they're incapable of even imagining, despite the evidence, that Talal has made a fool out of
Better
them.
investigation job than the police?
We have some secrets, you know, for ourselves.
Which brings us to the core of France 2's defense. This is a conspiracy theory. Are you telling us that the doctors in the hospital, that Palestinian authorities, that all these people out in the street would be involved in staging this? Ridiculous. Only somebody who believes in 9/11 conspiracies or Holocaust denial could come up with such a notion. In fact, recently, a French documentary, which interviewed me under false pretenses, made a similar argument, and the premier French weekly L'Express warmly recommended the program. And yet, not only does the evidence of staging appear throughout the rushes, but we have cases of elaborate fraud. And the Palestinians don't even sweat the details because apparently they know just how easy it is to fool the Western media. Last January, in order to accuse Israel of forcing a blackout in Gaza, which they had created, the Hamas legislature held a meeting by candlelight in the middle of the day. You can see the light streaming in between the drawn blinds on the right. Large numbers of people willingly participated in this extended fraud, carrying candles even as street and store lights indicated the electricity was on. And as transparent as the staging might seem, the Western media seems blind to the fraud. Here, the New York Times condemns Israel for the tragedy befalling the Palestinian people in Gaza. And here, Time magazine runs a photo of the Hamas legislature holding their candlelit session with a caption provided by their photographer, Mohammed Salem. If so many important people, the entire Gazan legislature, can be involved in an elaborate fraud to fool the media, why not the doctors and the ambulance drivers in the case of Mohammed Adua? Who would prefer the testimony of these witnesses to hard evidence? One of the basic rules of historical analysis is, if there's a conflict between narrative and hard evidence, always go with the hard evidence. Apparently, journalists take witnesses over hard evidence.
On a vu un enfant avec son père. L'enfant gisait par terre, face contre le sol. Je l'ai retourné et j'ai vu que ses intestins étaient à l'extérieur de son ventre. Alors je l'ai pris et je l'ai mis dans l'ambulance.
L'enfant était mort ou vivant?
He then presented this picture of a boy in the hospital with a gaping stomach wound. According to Talal, with this wound,
The boy was bleeding more than 15 to 20 minutes.
would a boy with such a wound, already dead, have moved like this? Would a site where his guts had spilled on the ground have left no trace of blood? Why, the next day, for a photo op, do we see red blood where Jamal sat, but no trace of blood where Mohammed lay bleeding with his gaping wound for so long? Why is there no trace of blood on the walls where the bullets that wounded them hit? Is this a bloodless libel? Imagine if the Time magazine caption had read, Hamas creates a blackout in order to frame Israel for a self-created fuel crisis. To give the Western media some photo ops, the Hamas legislature stages a candlelight session in broad daylight with the shades closed. Then maybe such daily conspiracies might not be so unthinkable, and the French mainstream media, from France 2 to Canal Plus to L'Express, might not make such stunning errors in misinforming their public.
טיפוסית של תיקון של עברת גידים.
אבל הצלקות הללו הוצגו 6 שנים אחר כך כהוכחה לפגיעות כדורי צה"ל.
The Mohammed ad-Dura affair tore at Europe's civic fabric precisely at a moment when Europe and the West need as resilient a civic culture as we can possibly muster. As we all awaken to the ominous dynamics of the 21st century, we need a mainstream media we can count on. Alas, right now, neither France nor the West seem to have anything even remotely resembling that. This is Richard Landis from The Second Draft.